you guys, welcome back to my channel. You guys are gonna sew a quilt from beginning to end with me. If you haven't watched my last quilting vlog video, you can go watch it right here. I sewed a quilt for my friend who is having a baby girl. Today we are starting a quilt for my friend who's about to have a baby boy. Now my inspiration is something like this, and I let her pick the graphic that's gonna go on the white square of the quilt, so she picked a fish. My idea originally was to try my hand at applique, to applique on all the little fish on the offset squares. I practiced, you guys, even got an embroidery foot for my sewing machine, and it's just not going very well. I am not happy with the way it looks, and I am nothing if not a perfectionist, so we are not gonna be appliquing this quilt. I am gonna be doing block printing like I did on my last quilt, and we're just gonna keep practicing our applique in the background so I can hopefully use it on a quilt at some point in the future, but that quilt is not this quilt. Look at how angry my machine was. Not like working on this project. So today I'm gonna cut out my block print as well as test some color of dyes for my block print pieces. I still wanna use this cute little polka dot as my white color that I'm gonna be block printing on. And these are the fish I printed out for inspo for my stamp. I think this one is my favorite. I'm gonna mock it up on a square of the proper size and we're gonna see what that looks like. Okay, I've decided I'm gonna be doing 6-inch blocks, which means I cut these out at 6.5 inches to accommodate the 1/4 inch seam allowance that'll be on every side. I thought maybe I'd want the fish to be a little bit bigger, but I actually do like the scale of it on this size of block. So I think I'm just gonna trace this out on my blocks and it'll be mirrored. I like the fish facing this way. I'll probably add in some detail kind of like this as well. Do I put a little smile? No, creepy. Okay. I'm just gonna grab my little whittling tool and start whittling away. Okay, I've got my little fish carved out. Perfect size, I think. I just washed it with soap and water to get rid of the pen marks. I'm gonna mix up 2 colors to test. So I'm gonna do an orange and a blue. I'm leaning towards having the fish be orange, kind of like little goldfish, and then doing my offsetting blocks in kind of like a cobalt or maybe like a navy blue, and then this cute little brown polka dot as the background. But I could be persuaded 2 different colors. So I'm gonna test out a couple colors and see which I like best for the fish, and then we will fully decide on our other blocks and see what we're gonna make. Okay, here's our cute little test swatch. I love how both these colors turned out. I think I am still leaning towards the orange though. And this is why test swatches are so good in this scenario, because now I know that I need to be very careful not to put too much paint on my stamp. And then also I'm gonna just have to carve around the edges a little bit more so you don't see the edges of the stamp here. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how this little fish turned out. We are gonna just let these little guys dry, and then I'm gonna be throwing it in the wash, letting it dry so I can see how the color really soaks into the fabric. Once I see the result and I pick a color, we are gonna stamp all of our blocks. It's the evening now. I just put my kids to bed, so I apologize for the bad lighting in this portion of the video, but I am just itching to keep working on this quilt. I'm going with the blue, and I've decided what I'm gonna do because my friend mentioned she loves the whole pop of red theory, where it's kind of like an unexpected pop of red. So we're gonna do the polka dot with the fish. I'm going to stamp them all tonight so they can dry overnight and I can throw them in the wash tomorrow, and then I can go to the fabric store tomorrow and get the offsetting color, which I'm gonna do probably like a chocolate, very deep brown. And then what I'm gonna do is have my backing be like a very poppy, chilly red with the top stitching being a chili red as well. That way there'll be like a little unexpected pop of red. I love the combo of the white, brown, blue, and red. And I'm just so excited to keep working on this. And that's why we are filming at night, which is not something I usually do. Okay, the fish are all washed and dried. So I'm excited to show you guys what they look like. Look at them. I made 2 panels like this, and then I'm gonna cut around them to make my individual quilt blocks. I love how they turned out. They're so cute. So we are headed to the quilting store now because I need to get fabric for my offsetting blocks as well as thread for my top stitching. I'm thinking potentially going with like kind of like a deep plum burgundy color if I don't find a good brown I like. And then I think that bright red is really gonna pop. Let's go see what we can find. Okay, I want to show you guys the colors that I settled on at the fabric store yesterday. Now I did have to do a little pivoting from what I initially thought I was going to get when I went in. Initially, I thought I might do like a very deep kind of maroon plum, a bright poppy red top stitch, or a chocolate brown with a bright poppy red top stitch. And they didn't have any bright red thread in the kind of thread I needed for hand top stitching. So I tested a bunch of colors out, as you guys saw, and this is what I settled on. Now, I am notoriously the most indecisive person ever. So of course I looked at this today and immediately regretted my choice. I think I made the right choice. I don't know. I'm so indecisive. So we've got the fish block. I ended up choosing this deep rusty red as my pairing color. And then the top stitching, which will only be on the red part because it's not gonna go across these blocks, is this kind of more muted rusty red. Kind of in the same color family, just lighter. What do we think? This is gonna be the backing as well as the other blocks. I wanted to make this very kind of like modern and simple and really just let the finer elements speak for themselves. So this is what we're working with. I'm gonna cut out all my blocks today and I'm gonna try to get my top quilt assembled. Now I noticed as I was cutting these out that it frayed quite a bit when I was washing them on the edges of my fabric pieces. So I think I'm actually gonna make my blocks just like a tad smaller, which means I'm gonna recut all these out that I cut yesterday. Okay, I laid out a little section just to make sure that I like it before I cut everything up, and I love it. I think it's such a wonderful color combo. I love how the top stitching is gonna pop without competing with the design. I'm so excited to work on this one. I'm gonna lay out all the pieces I have and see how big I wanna make it, and then we're gonna get to sewing. Yay! So I'm gonna lay the quilt out on top of this blanket. This is what I'm gonna be using as my batting. Not traditional batting. I didn't want the quilt to be super stiff because it's for a baby. This is like quite thin, but fleecy and very comfortable. I thrifted it, I already washed it. I love the proportions of the quilt with it at this size. I think it looks so good. Only issue is that for the amount of fabric I have left, I only have enough left for this to be the backing. And so I am missing enough fabric for 3 red squares. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I can go to the fabric store today, pick up just enough to do this part, but it's just annoying because when you're in the zone, you just want to keep sewing. So anyways, I think I'm gonna just sew up as many rows as I can. And then I will go to the fabric store later today when they open. But what do we think? I am low-key obsessed. And we're back to pick up just a tiny bit more of this. Okay, I'm home. We got the fabric we needed. I cut it out. Now I'm gonna be adding it to my rows. We're gonna press everything and then we're just gonna sew my rows together. I have an hour and a half before I have to pick my kids up at daycare. And I might be delusional, but I really think I can sew all my rows together. And I'm not doing a binding on this quilt. I'm doing, I think they call it like an inside out quilt. So I really think I can get the entire quilt done minus the top stitching if I really focus. So we're locking in. Okay, I've got my top quilt all done. Are you ready to see it? Oh my gosh. I love it. Okay, this might be my favorite quilt I've ever made. I love how simple yet impactful it is. It's the evening now, my kids are sleeping, and I'm gonna try to get this quilt done tonight because I'm so just excited about it. So I have my quilt sandwiched here. So I've got the top quilt and the batting spray adhesive to each other. The backing is just loose. Now I did clip the whole thing to keep it in place, and I cut around the edges to make sure everything is the exact same size, because now I'm gonna use my sewing machine as a guide and just sew a 1/4 inch in, and it should be good. I'm gonna leave a little gap like this big so I can flip it inside out, and then once it's flipped inside out, I'm gonna give it a really good pressing, and then we're gonna get to top stitch it. Okay, the moment of truth. Just taking it by the corners and turning it inside out. This part is so nerve-wracking to see what it's gonna look like. You guys, it is all turned inside out. Now I just need to give it a good pressing, and we're gonna get to top stitch. All right, you guys, I am so excited to show you the finished quilt. Are you ready? Oh my gosh, this is hands down my favorite quilt I've ever made. I think it's so simple but impactful, and turns out I love the look of a quilt without binding on the edges. So I'm definitely gonna be making more inside out quilts like this. I am also most definitely gonna be hand quilting again because I am obsessed with the look of a hand quilted quilt. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for joining me on the journey of making this quilt. If you liked this video and aren't subscribed to my channel yet, please hit the subscribe button. I put out new videos every Saturday. I also have an Etsy store where I sell my own PDF sewing patterns, so definitely check that out too. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Bye guys.